Hello everyone. Today I'll begin with the explanation of the poem Birches. The introduction of Robert Frost and Birches I have already shared with you. So today I'll begin with the explanation part of the poem. So I'll read out the lines and I'll then explain the lines. So let's begin with the explanation. When I see birches bent to left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay. Ice storms do that. So the poem opens with the sight of curiously bent birches trees. When the poet observes these birches bending to left and right in the background of or in the backdrop of straighter and darker trees, he believes or he thinks, he likes to think or he likes to believe that it is the work of some country boy who must have indulged in swinging them. However, he is also aware of the fact that it cannot be the case as the birches have been permanently bent. He knows that it isn't the work of a harmless boy. Then, with the second thought, it emerges in his mind. It actually dawns upon him that it must be due to the ice storms. Often you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after a rain. So here he is talking about a very natural phenomena related with the birches. He says that quite often he's shifting to a second person. Okay, he's addressing the second person. He says that you must have observed that the birches are laden with ice on a sunny winter morning. It's winter morning, but it is sunny at the same time. After a good rain, you must have observed this thing that the birches are laden with ice. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Cracks and crazes, it is a network of cracks which is formed on the covering of ice. And enamel is the coating of ice which we find on or which we can observe on the birches. So what he's trying to say here is that when the wind blows, the ice covered branches strike against each other and produce a sound like the one produced by striking of two pieces of iron. Then next he says that the rays of sunlight passing through ice breaks into the 7 colors of the rainbow. It is a natural phenomenon and Frost has very artistically observed it minutely. Okay. Now next he says, soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. What happens? When the sun rays falls upon these snow-laden birches, what happens? The cracks are formed and finally the birches shed that covering of ice. And that covering of ice falls down in a shattering and avalanching manner and it covers the snow crust. Okay, the snow crust means the ground which is covered with snow now. Now, next he says, such heaps of broken glass. So, when these crystal shells, these pieces of ice fall on the ground, on the snow crust, on the snow covered ground, it forms a heap and it looks like a heap of broken glass. Now, when you try to clean them, he says that such heaps of broken glass to sweep away, you would think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. So he says that if you try to clean these heaps of broken glass, the broken ice, you would feel that the inner vault, the inner dome of heaven had actually cracked and fallen down on the surface of earth. They are dragged to the withered bracken by the load, and they seem not to break. They means the birches. Okay? They are dragged, they are pulled down to the withered. Withered means dry. Bracken means the fern plant. So he says that what happens finally, as these birches are bent down, they are pulled down to the dry fern plants, okay, by the pressure implied on them, and they seem not to break. And the strange thing about birches is that despite of so much of load being applied on them, they don't break, they never seem to break. Okay, though once they are bowed so low for long, they never right themselves. This means that once the birches are bent down to such a low level, they will never, straighten again. They never right themselves means they won't straighten again, so they won't rise above that lower level to which they have bowed down. You may see their trunks arching in the woods, years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. Now, here there is a beautiful comparison as well as an image is drawn here, and you need to open up your mind and your imagination for this scene. What he's trying to say here is that you may see their trunks arching in the woods years afterwards. He says that even after a long span of time, after many, many years, if you observe the trunks of these birches, you will find them arching. You will find them arched in the woods, trailing their leaves on the ground. Trailing means, sweeping the ground or hanging down on the ground. So you will find the leaves of the birches touching the ground, sweeping the ground. Like whom? Now here there is a comparison, between the image of the bent down birches and that of a girl. Okay, what he says, like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. Now it is very simple and easy for you to imagine this particular picture. He compares the bent down trunks, the arched trunks of the birches, to the girls who are sitting on their hands and knees on the ground to put down their hair before their face, to just hang down their hair in order to dry them in sun. Okay, so such is the appearance of the arched trunks of the birches. But I was going to say, when truth broke in with all her matter of fact about the ice storm, I should prefer to have some boy bend them as he went out and in to fetch the cows. Some boy too far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself. Now, what he's trying to say? He says that, but I was going to say when truth broke in with all her matter of fact. So, truth has been personified here. Truth has been treated as a person. So, he says that when I was going to declare that ice storm is actually responsible for the bending down of the birches, then truth dawned upon me and I realized that what is actually the matter of fact related with the ice storms. After giving a second thought, he realizes that it is better for him to prefer or to think about a country boy who must have bent them. How he must have bent them, or when he must have bent these birches? When he went out and in to fetch the cows. Okay, so whenever he went out with his cows to graze his cows, he must have, used these birches to swing for his playtime while going and coming back with his cows. Then he says, some boy too far from town to learn baseball, or maybe this bending of the birches is due to a boy who actually fails to, or who is devoid of this facility of going to some far off town and then learning baseball there. So he is not having any opportunity like a city boy or city lad to have some recreational activities around him. So what he has done? He has discovered a play for himself by swinging on these birches. So the poet says, Frost says, whose only play was what he found himself. So his only playway method was the one which he had discovered, that is, swinging on the birches. Next he says, summer or winter, and could play alone. So this was the only game, the only playway method which the boy had discovered, whether it was summer or winter. The season did not matter for that boy, but the only way of recreation for him was the swinging on birches. And this game he could play all alone. He did not need any company for this thing. One by one he subdued his father's trees by riding them down over and over again. Now he says, he imagines that the boy about whom he is talking, his father probably owns a farmhouse or maybe an orchard where there are a number of trees. And he says that this boy had subdued, he had conquered, he had tamed one by one all the trees of his father. By how he had tamed them, how he had conquered them? By riding them down over and over again. So he had repetitively used these birches, used these trees for his play, for his game, for swinging. Okay, and ultimately what was the result? He took the stiffness out of them and these birches bent down. Okay. Now he says, until he took the stiffness out of them. So he continued this activity until he took the stiffness, the hardness out of these trees, out of these birches. And not one but hung limb, not one was left for him to conquer. So not a single tree was upright now. All the trees were limping and not a single tree was left which was not conquered by this boy. He learned all there was to learn about not launching too soon, launching out too soon, and so not carrying the tree away clear to the ground. So Frost here says that the boy had very intelligently skilled, he was quite skilled in this art of swinging on the birches. He had mastered this art of swinging on the birches. He had learned that how he had to maintain his balance and his poise on the branches of the birches. He says that he learned all there was to learn. He had learned all the techniques of not launching out too soon, of not landing soon on the ground, and not carrying away the tree clearly to the ground. So he knew at what point of time he had to land on the ground. He had mastered this art. He always kept his poise to the top branches, climbing carefully with the same pains you use to fill a cup up to the brim and even above the brim. So see, once again there is a comparison, the art which the boy has of swinging on the birches, how he keeps himself calm, composed when he is on the top of the branches, when he is climbing carefully on the branches. He says that he takes the same pains in maintaining his balance the way we take the pains in filling up a cup up to the brim or even above that brim. So he has that finesse in swinging the birches. Then he flung outward, feet first, with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. So the moment he realizes that now the branches might touch the ground, at that very moment he knows that now he has to land on the ground. And then with a swish, kicking his way down through the air, he hits the ground. He lands on the ground. So was I once myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. So here Frost is getting a bit nostalgic and he says that even just like this boy, even there was a time when I myself, I was a swinger of birches. I used to swing on the birches. And today I I long to be back in those times. I dream of going back to that time when I was a swinger of birches. It's when I am weary of considerations and life is too much like a pathless wood where your face burns and tickles with cobwebs. Now he says that when does he have this feeling of, going back, treading back on the path which can take him back to his past when he was a swinger of birches? It is when he is tired. Weary means he's tired of his considerations, of thinking, of his reflections, of his thoughts. When he feels tired of thinking, at that time life is too much like a pathless wood where his face burns and tickles with the cobwebs. Now, the pathless wood and the cobwebs symbolize the confusion and bewilderment of man. Man fails to see his way clearly and he is often confused and dazed. So, whenever Frost is in a dilemma, he is confused, he is dazzled by whatever is going around in his life. At that time, when life seems like a pathless wood full of cobwebs, there he feels that he should go back to his past when he was a swinger of birches. Where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is weeping from a twigs having lashed across it open. So, when you are walking across these cobwebs in the pathless wood with your open eyes, what happens? A twig can injure your eye, can injure your view. Now, the twigs might symbolize the adversities of life, the obstacles which a person faces in life. So, here he says, he's talking about the pathless wood, cobwebs, then the twigs which lashes across the open eye and it injures it. And he starts weeping. The eye starts weeping. So, all in all, he's talking about the hardships of life. Okay, so he says that what happens whenever he is facing some kind of adversity in his life, odds in his life, some abuses of life, at that time he wants to move back to his past and become a swinger of birches once again. He says, I would like to get away from earth a while and then come back to it and begin over. He says that at such time when I am facing some pain or miseries in my life, at that time I feel that I should move away from the earth for some time. He's talking about the human aspirations and ideals. He wants to move away from this earth and then come back to it and begin over. So after this momentary break, he wants to come back to earth. So he does not want to go away from the earth permanently. He wants to come back to the earth once he has had the peace of mind. Then he wants to come back to his original life, back to earth, and begin his life once again. Next he says, may no fate willfully misunderstand me. Willfully means deliberately, purposely. He says that destiny should not misunderstand me and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. He says that my wish of going away from the earth and coming back to it, it should not be partially granted. It means it is not that I just want to move away from this earth. I also want to come back. So destiny should not half grant my wish, that it can only take me away from this earth and not bring me back to it. No, I want to come back to the earth. He says, snatch me away not to return. So destiny should not take me away from this earth never to return back. I want to come back to the earth. Why? Next he says, I want to return back to earth because earth is the right place for love. He believes that earth is the best place, it is the right place for love. I don't know where it is likely to go better. I would like to go by climbing a birch tree. He says that I don't know which is the best option in life, but yes, wherever I want to go, I would like to go by swinging on the birches. And climb black branches up a snow white trunk toward heaven. Now, heaven here symbolizes an ideal place, a perfect world where Frost wants to go when he is fed up of his earthly life. He is done with the anxieties and worries of his human life. So he says that he would like to climb the black branches and the snow covered trunk of the birches and move towards that peaceful place which he calls heaven till the tree could bear no more, and he would like to stay up there till the tree can bear his load. Okay, but dipped its top and set me down again. So, till the tree can bear his burden, till then he wants to remain up, and then he would love that the tree should bring him down to the ground, bring him back down to the earth. That would be good, both going and coming back. So, he says that he would enjoy this activity of going up, staying there for some time, taking rest, relaxing, recovering or resuming his peace of mind, and then coming back. He's satisfied with this activity of going and then coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches. He says that the best possible thing is to be a swinger of birches. One could be, he says that the best thing is to get away from the anxieties and worries of this earth by swinging on the birches. So for him, the best way of escaping from the realities and hardships of earth is by swinging on the birches. But at the same time, he expresses his desire that he wants to come back again to the ground, again to the earth, and continue with his life on earth. So that's all for the explanation of the poem Birches. In my final video based on this poem, I'll give you a summary of the poem and some points on the critical appreciation of birches. Thank you.